session of the DuPage Township Supervisor Board of Trustees to order. Can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call for quorum, please.
Trustee Raga.
Present.
Trustee Bedford. Present. Trustee Oliver. Absent.
She's absent. She just sent me a text. Her car broke down in Schaumburg where she's working and she's waiting for help, so she might be late.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, before we approve the agenda, I'd like to move some items around. Okay. Adoption of rule of order, that'll be C. QuickBooks investigation, that'll be D. Final hall discussion, that'll be E. Transfer of appropriation, F. Appointment of new attorney, that'll be A. Village of Romeoville tax increment financing, B. Okay, and I think that's all. Mac will be G, okay, and so forth. Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Burgess? Second. Raga? Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Bedford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, I have approval for the minutes. The first one is for Board of Trustees minutes for Thursday, February 28th.
So moved.
Trustee Burgess,
Second.
Trustee Benford. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Bedford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, approval for the minutes of March 6th. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Raga, Burgess. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Bedford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay. For the supervisor report, item A, appointing a township attorney, and the resolution would be whereas DuPage Township, Will County, has the need for legal services which are to be rendered to the township by the township attorney. And whereas pursuant to the Illinois Township Code, the supervisor with the consent of the township board may appoint a township attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the attorney Alderson and Sturp Limited, attorney at law, is appointed as attorney for DuPage Township and is to be paid at his usual and customary charges, currently $185 per hour. Such appointment is to take effective immediately upon the passing of this resolution and continue until an appointment is again made and a successor selected. Passed this 19th day of March 2019 by the Board of Trustees of DuPage Township, Will County. Can I have a motion, please? Are you guys ready?
Can I, it's not, I want to just make one small change. Instead of saying is to be paid at his usual and customary charge, since the law states that the board is supposed to set the amount, if we could just change that to say, and shall be paid $185 per hour per the board.
Okay.
And I make a motion to accept Resolution 1903 with the change that I noted above.
Okay, trustee Benford. We have a second.
Second that.
Trustee Raga. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Nope.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Motion carried. Okay. Okay, item B, Village of Romaville Downtown Tax Increment Finance Resolution. I bring that up because Steve Golden, the village manager of Romaville, is here, and he has to go to a board meeting. Could you talk about the...
Sure, want me to do it up there or just right here is good, whatever, it's good for you.
Yeah, you can,
Right here?
that's fine.
So first of all, thank you for putting this on the agenda. For those who are familiar with our downtown TIF, it's right where the old Jewel Shopping Center was at, for those who've been down Route 53 hundreds of times. Back in 2005 or 2006, we decided to do a redevelopment of that area. We actually purchased the property, built our athletic and event center there, and done some really good economic development things, and that was TIF is used for. It's to create economic development opportunities. So that TIF was created. DuPage Township supported that TIF. We subsequently then expanded a TIF up in the Marquette area. DuPage Township supported that, and we're very grateful for all the support that you guys have done for our TIFs. Now, because of the recession we had, and obviously the 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, we lost several years of that economic development. And so we're looking to extend that TIF by law, which is 13 years is the max we can extend it. And we're asking for you guys to sign a letter saying that, yes, either you support it or you just have no issues with the extension of the TIF. We've made these presentations to all taxing bodies. All taxing bodies have approved it. And the main reason is obviously I talked about the recession, but we need to make some long-term financial commitments with that particular TIF. And we need to have those additional 13 years, even though this is not going to expire until 2025. I don't have the years right in front of me. But we have to make some long-term financial decisions on reinvesting into that area to create a more economic, viable downtown. The good part about this is the Marquette TIF, which you guys supported, and I was mentioning this to Will County, comes off. So that extension was about 7 or 8 years ago. In 4 or 5 years, that TIF comes off. We can't extend it again. And then you'll receive all those tax dollars as built up. So the way TIF works, tax incremental financing, is that there's a base EAV for the property, and that anything new on EAV is used for economic development. Once the TIF expires, then that EAV and the taxing dollars go back to the individual taxing districts, school district, DuPage Township, county, and whatever. Currently, all those taxing dollars come into this TIF economic development incentive pot. And so the Marquette TIF, which had a very low EAV base, for those who've been around for a long time, Lowry, Oregon used to be there, and Sharp Electronics, 100 years ago. That was about the only building there when the Marquette TIF was built. Since then, there's been over $100 million in investment. EAV is over $30 million. Once that comes off, all those taxing dollars come back to the taxing bodies. So we're asking for support or not to say no. This is vital to Romaville, and we appreciate all the things that DuPage Township has done for the village. We've worked hand in hand, and this is just another partnership that I'm asking for this. And feel free to ask me any questions. I can, certainly answer them the best I can.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
Well, thank you again. Thank you very much. Thank you for hearing this.
Okay, resolution number 19-04. A resolution supporting the extension of the Village of Romaville Downtown Tax Increment Finance District.
So
And,
moved.
okay. Trustee Burgess,
Second.
Trustee Benford. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, thanks for looking up too. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next thing on the item C would be adoption of Robert Rules of Order. Discussion with possible board action. Benford and Burgess wanted this to be on the agenda. Do you want to address this?
Yes, I know we've had some discussions in our last couple of meetings if we as a board have ever adopted Robert's Rules of Order. And of course, our minutes are not digitized, so instead of going back and looking through minutes for the last 10, 20 years, and obviously we have a board here for the last 3 or 4 years, I know I'd spoken to Trustee Raga about it at one point as well. It just helps us obviously establish some type of order for our meetings if we have Robert's Rules of Order or something. So that was the reason to at least get it in a set of current minute meetings that we've adopted it.
And I sent you, all the trustees, a PDF with the Robert Rules of Order.
Yes.
Okay, you all okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Burgess, Benford, roll call please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, the next item is QuickBooks investigation update that was submitted by Trustee Benford and Trustee Burgess. Do you want to address that? Or?
No, we were trying to get an update because it's been on the agenda several times and it's been tabled, and I'm understanding that it shouldn't be called QuickBooks investigation, so I wasn't here at the last meeting and I was out of town, so I was trying to see if anybody has an update on that matter or has spoken to the authorities at all.
Okay, we received a FOIA on this matter. And it went back to the Attorney General. I think the person that FOIA this was Mr. John Kraft. So we had our previous attorney went to investigate it and talked to the investigation police and about releasing the information, and the police indicated that it would interfere with the investigation. So we sent a redacted copy to the Attorney General and to the Public Access Bureau, and we sent it back to John Kraft. I think the date was 19th, it was yesterday, no, today. So he should be receiving a copy of that. Yeah, you did?
Yeah.
Yes. And so the next step is what I can do, I can give a redacted copy to the board members. Okay, so that's what we're allowed to release so far.
Okay.
Okay? Good. Any other question about that? Okay, the next item is E, Klein Hall, discussion of billing from forensic audit and accounting service. And Benford and Burgess wanted to talk about that.
Yes, and you all probably received an email, I think yesterday or today, from Christine Klein. One of the reasons I wanted to add this to the agenda is when I was taking a look at the material weaknesses that the auditor noted, Mack and Associates, one of the things that they said was about the bank reconciliations not being completed timely. And they went on to say, during the initial stages of the audit, we identified that the cash balances per the general ledger had not been reconciled to the bank statement since November 2017, and all revenues had not been recorded in the software. Now, I then emailed the auditor to make sure that that date was correct, because I remember we kind of had the same language in our forensic audit report. So when we completed that forensic audit report in August of last year, they were working on bank recs, finished with the bank recs, needed questions Terry to answer, or the former bookkeeper to answer questions. And so I had sent a series of questions to Klein Hall asking about that, because if we already paid for that in August,
Yes.
And we had only engaged them at that point to do the forensic audit work,
Right.
as well as the bank reconciliations. We didn't get our bank reconciliations at that point. And then months later, we
Yeah.
have this auditor saying that they still weren't done. So obviously that raises questions of what happened, and that's why I asked her to also send us a detailed billing, which was
Okay.
something I had asked for at one point.
Yeah.
And then I know in November, and I sent you a copy of that email, I had even asked our former clerk to give us a copy of the last bank reconciliations. So as a board, obviously, we're trying to keep up on this, but if the Klein Hall I didn't get any bank recs until yesterday.
Yes, yes.
So, and I have an issue with that, especially considering the amount of money that they've been paid,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
You
Any
gotta
other,
go to it too, our accounting department was a circus.
Right,
Before they came in, it was a circus.
right, and I'm not
They had a lot of
disagreeing.
cleanup to do. They did a forensic audit, and they had to clean up the office.
Mhm.
And they've stated several times how that was not an office, that was a storage facility.
Now, they also said in her response from Klein Hall, she said, shortly after the forensic exam, the former bookkeeper was no longer working at the township and was unable to resolve these questions. Well, they obviously got their questions resolved because they were able to give us finalized bank reconciliations in order to do the audit. So,
Okay.
and they did that without the bookkeeper's assistance, so.
any more discussion on that issue?
No more discussion on their billing.
Okay.
Because she emailed everything.
Right.
So if I do have any other questions, I'll take a look at that at the next meeting. Now, the other thing that I had a question on regarding their accounting services is in regards to the last payroll check for the former supervisor, Bill Mayer. If you look at the year-to-date gross, it had $30,000. The year-to-date deductions were $52,000. I'm a little confused as to how you can have more deductions than year-to-date gross.
Well, there's a reason for that. It's something that a bookkeeper has been doing, okay? We have an old software, and at the end of every year, you have to zero out the year-to-date deductions. And that was not done, so you keep on adding it every year. So that's why it's out of balance.
So his year-to-date deductions are off because of that?
Yes, because of that.
And then, and what about, did you have the, and I also read about the health insurance premiums that have been deducted from his W-2. So his salary is $29,000, but his W-2 was only $5,000, which means, and the Social Security wages were only $7,000. We are, as an employer, we have to match Social Security and Medicare. And so I know Christine Klein and I went back and forth on the phone, but today I literally spent an hour on the phone with Ms. Gutierrez of the Employment Tax Department at the IRS.
Okay.
And basically, and I have, you know, some other IRS codes if you want to take a look at it, but I definitely think that the board needs to amend or issue him a corrected W-2 that is going to show the correct amount of compensation based on the resolution that
Right.
was approved.
Okay.
And I bought copies for everybody so that you guys will have a copy of it, but you
Okay.
can pass that to Felix. In 2016, we approved the supervisor's salary at $29,000. And I did ask the IRS agent, because one of the terms I used was tax evasion. If we are not, as a township, paying the right amount in employment taxes, and we're not issuing the correct W-2 to show the correct amount of reportable wages, that is considered a form of tax evasion.
Right.
So we need to, if nothing else, amend his W-2 to show the right amount of wages. Now, I don't know how we deal with him giving himself employment benefits, because it definitely was not a part of the resolution that we approved.
Right.
But we, if, at a minimum, he needs a corrected W-2.
Right.
And we unfortunately, the law says because we didn't withhold the right taxes at the time, we're now responsible for it. And we can always decide with our new attorney if we want to
Right, okay,
have him repay us.
right.
But I am going to make a motion that we issue a corrected W-2 to William Mayer, reporting his box 1, 3, 5, and 7 at the amount of his compensation that was set for the year, which is $29,000.
Okay. Right. We have a second. Burgess? Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes.
And the last point I want to make is Klein Hall should have figured that out. I shouldn't have to get involved in something
Yeah.
like that. That's their job, so.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay, so those. Okay, F now, transfer of appropriation, ordinance 1902. This is a long one. You have to transfer appropriation because of some of the funds were out of balance, so we want to, whereas it was adopted on June 26, 2018 by the Township Board of Town of DuPage, the Town of DuPage in the County of Will, State of Illinois, a budget and appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2018 and ending March 31st, 2019. And whereas it appears that certain adjustments between appropriations in the town fund are desirable and necessary. And whereas Section 3 of the Illinois Municipal Budget Law, approved July 12, 1937 as amended, authorized transfers between the various items within any fund. Such appropriation ordinance not exceeding the aggregate 10% of the total amount appropriated in such fund by such ordinance. Now therefore, be it ordained by the Township Board of the Town of DuPage in the County of Will, State of Illinois. First one, transfer $8,000 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Program, making the adjusted appropriation for Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjustment appropriation for Town Fund Youth Services Programs. 2, transfer $6,000 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Summer Intern Program, making the adjustment appropriation for Town Fund Administrative Professional Services, and then adjusted appropriation for Town Youth Summer Service, Town Fund Youth Services Summer Intern Program. Number 3, transfer $7,500 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Sports Programs, making the adjusted appropriation for the Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjustment appropriation for Town Fund Youth Services Sports Sponsors. The fourth one is 20 to be read. Okay. Fourth one, transfer $7,000 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Sports Grant, making the adjusted appropriation for the Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjusted appropriation for Town Fund Youth Services Sports Grant. Number 5, transferred $1,750 to Town Fund Maintenance Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services SARS Convention, making the adjustment appropriation for the Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjusted appropriation for the Town Youth Services STARS Convention. Number 6, transferred $1,000 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Rotary Top 10, making the adjustment appropriations for the Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjusted appropriation for the Town Fund Youth Services Rotary Top 10. Number 7, transfer $2,500 to Town Fund Administration Professional Services from Town Fund Youth Services Printing, making the adjusted appropriation for Town Fund Administration Professional Services and the adjustment appropriation for the Town Fund Youth Services Printing. Number 8, Transferred $6,000 to the town fund food administration liability insurance from the town fund senior program and promotions advertising, budgeted making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund administration liability insurance and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund senior program and promotions advertising. Number 9, transferred $9,000 to the town fund computer tech from the town fund administration salaries, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund computer tech and adjusted appropriation for the town fund administration salaries. Number 10, transferred $1,000 to the town fund workers' compensation from the town fund administration dues, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund workers' compensation and adjusted appropriation for the town fund administration dues. Number 11, transferred $3,000 to the senior program in Clinton from the senior program and extended trips, making the adjusted appropriation for the senior program in Brenton and adjusted appropriation for the senior program and extended trips. Number 12, transferred $4,000 to the town fund PACE contract from the town fund social service grant, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund social service PACE contract and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund social service. Number 13, transferred $1,000 to the town fund Levy Senior Center recurring services from the town fund Levy Senior Center parking lot, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund Levy Senior Center recurring services and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund Levy Senior Center parking lot. 14, transferred $2,000 to the town fund maintenance department maintenance equipment inside from the town fund maintenance building, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund maintenance department maintenance equipment inside and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund maintenance building. Number 15, transferred $5,000 to the town fund maintenance department utilities from the town fund food pantry salaries, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund maintenance utilities and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund food pantry salaries. Number 16, transferred $500 to the town fund food pantry travel from the town fund pantry maintenance and equipment, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund food pantry travel and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund food pantry maintenance equipment. Number 17, transfers $7,800 to the town fund assessor license from the town fund assessor salaries, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor license and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor salaries. Number 18, transfer $1,500 to the town fund assessor equipment from the town fund assessor salaries, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor equipment and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor salaries. Number 19, transferred $501 to the town fund assessor computers from the town fund assessor travel, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor computers and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor travel. 20, transferred $1,025 to the town fund assessor dues from the town fund assessor salaries, making the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor dues and the adjusted appropriation for the town fund assessor salaries. These transfers shall be in full force and in effect from and after this date. Adopted March 19, 2019 by the Township Board and the town of DuPage in the county of Will, state of Illinois. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Benford, Burgess, roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford,
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, the next one is item G. Mack and Associates engagement letter for the audit of 2019 to 2018 to 2019. So that's the new audits that's coming up. Trustees have a time to read the letter. Okay, this letter of engagement is for our next audit. Any discussion?
I know we've had like 20 audits this year.
Yes.
But being house since we switched supervisors, aren't we required by law to have another one after, what was it, the 22nd of January to 29th? For the new supervisor to,
I'm not sure of that.
from April, for the fiscal year ending that date, but when he took over, I read it in the book. That we had, I know we've had so many audits, but
Yeah.
the book should be right, but we still
Right.
should have had an audit.
Yeah. Okay.
January 29th back to April 1st.
Okay. So we can still do that, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it should be like that quick because they've been all over the books.
Yes, right, okay, yeah, we can have that, okay. Okay. Any more discussion on this?
Now that Trustee Burgess has brought that up, I'm trying to remember when we issued the RFP for the last audit, did we do it to cover a couple of years or was it only for that year?
2 years.
It was 2 years, okay. So this would cover that 2-year period. And that would be considered like an interim audit, so do you want to, because it will actually, it will encompass some of this, so we may want to go back to we may want to just table this.
Yeah, okay.
Because this may change now,
Yeah.
because they're going to do an interim. So I'll make a motion to table the Mack and Associates engagement letter audit, and that way they can revise it to cover
Second.
that.
Yeah, okay. Manford and Burgess, roll call please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford,
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay. Next item in H, Eagle Scout project. So there's an Eagle Scout project. Would you talk to that, Linda? It's,
Yes, his name is Charlie Steenstra. He's gonna build us 6 new picnic benches out back here. So it's over my limit for signing off. So the cost of the wood, nuts, bolts, screws, approximately $591.
So moved.
Okay. Trustee Burgess? You have a second?
A second.
Trustee Raga? Yeah, that's a good price, 6 benches for $600.
They sell for $229.
Yes, right.
Just so I know.
Yeah. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford,
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay. Item I, Meals and Wheels from Will County. They have a March for Wheels donation request. The Meals for Wheels, it's a program throughout Will County. And we have participants from Bolingbrook also in the program. And they requested donation. And they had different categories of donation that were requested. $3,000 to be a platinum sponsor, $2,000 to be a gold sponsor, silver sponsor, $1,000 bronze sponsor. And I recommend that we be a bronze sponsor for $500.
So moved.
Trustee Burgess. Trustee Raga.
One thing before you call for vote.
Yeah.
Are we gonna make sure the Eagle Scout project, Meals on Wheels, we're gonna make sure they have the right cooperative agreement? I think I sent you guys the law over the weekend on the paperwork that we just have to have them sign off on before we disperse the checks. Yes, I copied you.
Okay.
I'll send it again.
I think, though, would an Eagle Scout individual have to do a co-op? I mean, it's his Eagle Scout project.
Or
his
the
badge.
Meals on Wheels, yeah.
Meals on Wheels, I can
yeah.
see.
And that's probably a question for
Meals on Wheels with senior services.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, we'll work on that with a cooperative letter. Trustee Benford. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. The next item, item J, Eagle Scout ceremony at the Levy Center. For July 28th, we have another Eagle Scout, and they're asking to use the Levy Center just on a Sunday. And we normally do in-kind donation for the center. Any discussion?
So move.
Trustee Benford. Trustee Burgess. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay. The next item, K, Girl Scout Golden Ceremony.
So moved.
Trustee Burgess.
Second.
Trustee Benford. Right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. The last item, board approval for the 2019 annual town meeting agenda. This agenda has to be passed before the 25th of March. And you all have an agenda. And it's the town meeting going to be at the Levy Center.
Yes, the corrected one is in the middle of the table.
Yes. We figure the Levy Center is much bigger, so it tends to get crowded in here. So the annual town meetings go the May 9th?
April.
No, April 9th.
April.
April 9th, April 9th. I should remember that, that's my daughter's birthday also. I remember that 37 years ago. I got home at about Thursday at 4:30. She said, I gotta go to, my wife said, I gotta go to the hospital, you know? So at 8:30 she was born. So I should remember that.
So you're gonna make the meeting?
Is he celebrating birthday?
But she moved to Albany, so, you know, okay.
I know. I do have one question before you call for the vote.
Yeah.
In our very first budget workshop, we talked about the supervisor's report from the last fiscal year that we had to correct in order to correct the balances. Do we have to
We
approve?
haven't made a motion yet, so there's no need to discuss it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was out of order.
Okay.
I'll make a
Robert
motion.
rules of order, right? Trustee Burgess,
Second?
trustee Benford.
Now you're fine.
Okay, thank you guys for correcting me. At our very first budget workshop, we talked about the supervisor's financial statement from the last fiscal year. We had to correct the balances. We now
Yeah.
have the audited financials, we have the balances. I
Yeah,
believe Linda gave us a copy of the corrected one.
right.
I know that that has to be filed somewhere, so do we need to approve that again now? Since the one we approved last time essentially was wrong, or do we just file the corrected one?
We just filed the corrected one.
Just file the corrected
Yeah.
one? Okay, I just didn't know if it needed to be a part of this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Raga.
Yes.
Trustee Benford.
Yes.
Trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, clerk's report.
I am currently preparing for the annual town meeting on April 9th.
Yes, okay. That'll be your first one, right?
Yes. Be kind, John.
Okay. Anything else, or?
That's it. I'm sorry. That's it.
Assessors report?
Okay, the senior freeze forms will be mailed out at the end of this month. So anyone, senior or veterans or anyone with disability, those forms will be mailed out. You'll get them probably in the beginning of April. We're currently working on 2019 assessments. This is a quadrennial year, so every parcel will receive a notice whether we make a change or not. That's all we got.
Okay. Township administrator report?
No report.
Food pantry report?
No report.
Okay. Senior department report?
I have two papers up there from both sides. Maureen couldn't be here tonight, but she submitted a report as well,
All right.
so you can read it. Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Unfortunately, both the Valentine's Day party and the trip to the theater had to be canceled because we had no supervisor at that time to authorize payments to the vendors that need to be paid. So the money's in the process of being refunded to those who had signed up, the seniors, that were unable to attend. However, business is back to normal going forward. I've taken them out to lunch, a different movie, and lunch on another day to an Irish event. We had a great St. Pat's party on March the 15th. It was well attended, and I'm pretty sure everybody had a good time. We're leaving to go to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show Thursday this week. And of course, we have to have a trip to the casino, you know that. We're supposed to say amen or something, maybe. I did attend a conference out in Joliet for the Association of Illinois Senior Centers on February the 20th and the 21st. Basically, it's an informational conference with current topics and, really good education as well as networking and resources. Some of the topics that we discussed covered spirituality and aging, men's programming, tools of the trade, trips and travel, and the best practices for policy, code of conduct, volunteer, things like that. Was quite a bit of really good information that was given. Moving forward, I'm planning the next couple of months' activities for the newsletter, including a couple of more parties, some day travels, getting ready for a trip to Vegas at the end of May till into June. And we really do get busy during the coming months as the weather warms up and membership, as usual, continues to grow.
Okay.
So, Maureen is somewhere up here. Oh, okay. She also mentioned about attending the conference, covered different aspects of senior living. She sees different, like she goes in a different direction than I, but she's got education, 2 tracks of programming, programs and administrative tracks along with networking and resources available. She taught the AARP class for 2 days. That particular class helps seniors understand that things change, such as the roads, medication, and climate, and how to handle the changes. She visited the Romeoville Golden Ages Club to make sure they're aware that the township is there to help with any issues that they might have. She goes there once a month on, actually tomorrow morning she'll be going there. She met with 3 different we both did copy machine salespeople. We discussed that at the budget meeting, but we already had started seeing them prior to that. For 3 quotes to bring to the board at an upcoming board meeting. Our copy machine is no longer compatible with our new window upgrade on our computers, so we're no longer able to scan to various agencies. She does a lot of scanning with the state. Rules of the Road was held at our building for our seniors to keep them current with ongoing rules and regulations. She also met with AARA Transportation, that's the American Association of Retired Asians. This organization is looking for monetary support for the township, from the township to help older Asian adults with transportation. They are putting a proposal together for board for an upcoming board meeting. She assisted over 30 clients with various issues such as BEAM, which is a benefit access, so they can receive a discount on their license plates and free bus pass. She assisted with Medicare, Medicaid questions and helped with mail and any and all issues. This report does not include phone calls and conversations on various topics, new member sign-ups, members sign up for upcoming programs, newsletter preparation, and various tasks. Please don't hesitate to call or stop by with any questions. Maureen Fox.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
GAEA report.
No
No
report.
report. Banquet coordinator report.
Still the same, taking bookings. Actually, when I turned my report in this morning, I had 14, but I took in 4 more this afternoon, so I had 18 total in the last month.
Oh, that's great. Okay, thank you.
I don't have any dates left for 2019.
Okay.
Fridays, I got Fridays,
This Friday, huh?
pretty much.
So I'd like to introduce our new attorney, Bert Olson and Ross Steckler.
Hi, thank you. We look forward to representing the township. We represent a number of other townships, including Naperville. We represent quite a few municipalities, park districts, school districts. We've been a firm for 40-plus years. We love townships and hope to have a good relationship with all the elected officials and staff. And we're kind of 24/7 on our cell phones. If we'll share it with the trustees. If you need us at any time, text us, call us, and we'll be there. There's not too many questions we haven't answered. There's always some new ones, new problems, but we're here to help wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next, approval of township bills, $59,156.69. Open payables, $7,748.11. Paid payables from 2/26 to 3/14/19, $51,408.58. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Burgess,
Second.
trustee Ryder, second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Raga,
Yes.
trustee Benford,
Yes.
trustee Burgess, supervisor George.
Yes. Okay, next one is public comments, and we wish to hold,
Old business, new business.
all business, new business. Any,
Easter egg hunt, we doing that this year? Easter egg hunt, are we doing that this year?
yeah, there was a question,
Been asked a
somebody
lot.
emailed me about Easter egg hunt, and I was gonna talk to the staff about it. And we should have an answer by next week. Yeah. Okay. Easter is about, what, 25th of April?
21st.
21st? Yeah, okay,
It's after the next meeting.
okay, so we'll let them know by the end of this week, yeah, okay. Okay. Any, that's it, new business, over this? Okay, public comments, and please hold your comments to 3 minutes. There's a lot of people. It's only fair that, 3 minutes. Any comments?
May I start?
Petra?
Petra Burgess. I have a couple of questions and a couple of statements. Somebody asked me about the Levy Center. What is allowed in there when events are happening? Apparently last week at the senior event, there were several candidates for several officers campaigning in the Levy Center, which is not allowed according to the bylaws, which I have right here. So I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I wasn't aware of that, they were campaigning, but a candidate can come in and walk and talk to people, but you can't hand out any literature or anything, Judy is the senior president.
I'm the president of the senior club, and we are separately incorporated, and it has always been tradition that if any candidate calls, we do what is called a meet and greet. They are not allowed to bring literature in, and they are only allowed to circulate between 1:45 and 1 o'clock. At that time, they are introduced to the senior club, allowed to present their name and make a short statement, and then they leave. And it is open to any candidate who wants to come. All they have to do is give me a call and let me know that they're coming. And we have been chartered since 1974, and that tradition has been going on since 1974. Any candidate who wants to speak to the senior club, that's the way they do it. Okay?
Fine with me, I'm just telling you that the bylaws say there's no absolutely.
Which bylaws are you referring to?
The Levy Center.
Center agreement, which I don't think is in functioning anymore. The Levy Center agreement that went a long time ago. But anyway, campaign, it's called a meet and greet, and they are not allowed to bring in any brochures or signs. So basically, they walk around and introduce themselves, and say hello, and then they leave.
They just talk about their families and nothing political, okay.
But there's early voting, and we encourage the seniors to vote. We are bipartisan.
Just wanted to
And-
refer to that page 13 on the.
No, I know they're not allowed to have a political event. It's not a political event.
Absolutely no campaigning, correct.
They're
All
only
right,
allowed,
thank you.
they're
I
only
appreciate it.
allowed
Can I
15
finish
minutes.
now? Because I have 3 minutes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Can you give me an update on the status of the bookkeeper and how it will affect the, how she will be affected in the upcoming budget? Then, when the department has to read their reports every month, is there any way that those can be made part of the minutes? When you publish the minutes, that those reports are in there, so people can read it?
Oh, yeah, we can always, yeah.
Okay, I read the minutes and it appears that for a couple months now, the public comments, all that is reflected in the minutes is who spoke but not what they said. Can you go back to the old way? Where people can actually read what people said?
Okay, well, sometimes, it's hard for the clerk sometimes, somebody talk with 3 or 4 minutes, it's very hard, right?
Correct.
So,
You can just put pointers on there, just,
okay,
don't have to do word by word, but it's fine.
okay.
Then I asked, last time I asked about FOIA, I asked a question. And I was wondering when somebody from the township will be responding to all my questions. That I have the time frame when I can expect answers to all my questions.
Okay. All of the FOIAs that, we have a FOIA person that handles all the FOIAs, and they should be respond within what, 7 days? Yeah.
The website says 5 days.
5.
It's 5 days.
It's
5
5 days, but
Okay.
I'm asking about the cost. The question that I asked last last month at the meeting?
Yes.
How much altogether since last March has been spent on taxpayers' money in all of the FOIAs that were requested from everybody? Manpower, supplies,
It
everything.
costs a lot of money, but that's the way the state legislators knew that. They say freedom of information is not really free. Somebody's got to pay for it. Simple FOIAs can be handled by the staff, but difficult FOIAs, we have to go through our attorneys, and these attorneys' fee.
Right.
And, you know, so there's more difficult fees, or people want to ask about something that's private, the GA clients and things like that, we have to go through our attorney. And
I
that's what.
understand the process is the
Yeah.
amount that was spent.
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah. I don't know how much was spent on the attorney fees, but the staff is here, that's doing it, you know. So, we can have a breakdown later on.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else? Gary Marsky?
Gary Marshke. I have to reiterate, the problem is that our comments aren't recorded in the minutes, and that's why I put my comments in writing, so she has no excuse not to put them in the minutes.
Okay, as long as you sign it, we'll put it in the minutes.
As long as I sign it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you didn't sign it last time.
Okay, so okay, there you go. Okay, now, the first one I had is on the audit with MAC. Okay, I went and copied the audit from the website.
Yep.
Okay, and I noticed one huge discrepancy on it, and that is that there was no management letter attached to that. Okay, and I'd like to go to section 80-20, which is under the 60 ILCS 1/80-20, which is the township statutes of the state. And it says, independent audit of accounts. Section B, in townships that receive revenue of $850,000 or more during any fiscal year, exclusive of road funds, which means DuPage Township,
Yeah.
the township board shall have the accounts and all records of the township thoroughly audited by a certified public accountant within 6 months after the close of each fiscal year. Okay. The board shall have a copy of the accountant's report and recommendations filed with the township clerk and another copy filed with the county clerk for public inspection. Okay. You have the audit. There is a management letter that MAC has, and I FOIA'd the MAC letter, okay, and it had 10 different what they call weaknesses,
Right.
which are knocks on the township, okay? And they also had recommendations for every one of them, and yet you did not include it in the audit report, okay? Which is a direct violation of the state statute. Also, it was 5 months late in filing with the, I assume you're going with the comptroller
Okay.
that they have.
Yeah.
5 months late. I checked with the comptroller's office. They said there's no exception to that.
Right.
They don't give any dispensation for lateness or anything else like that.
Yeah. I
So-
know it's at the controller's office, we did file it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so, okay, and another thing is I checked the old audits, and there's no management letter attached to any of those
Okay.
audits.
Okay.
So are you telling us that there were no recommendations made for the previous 10, 12 years?
Yeah. All right, I'll double check that for you.
Well,
Okay.
that
Okay.
also goes into your old service to the township,
Yeah.
okay? So if you don't, you should have it
Yeah.
in there.
I think it's available, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it should be put in there because there's been some very, very nasty comments from the auditors as far as the, the conduct of the township. Okay. Another thing is the forensic audit. I FOIA'd the forensic audit, the copy that was presented to the board, and the board went into executive session to go over it for 3 hours, okay?
Okay.
I was told that it's not available because you haven't released, that information yet, okay? Now, the problem is I also checked and found out that you've never released any information for, I think they said at least 7 or 8 years. Nothing has ever been released. You go 6 months, every 6 months, you go over all the executive sessions and you release what is possible to release. You've never done it. Okay, and that's not only in the last 6 months, but I can't even find anyone who says that anything has ever been released by this board. So when was the last time you released any information from an executive session?
So, we'll get back to you,
Very often.
Gary.
I want to say one other thing. There is a House bill on the floor of the House, and it's HB 307. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a bill that basically would make it much, much easier to eliminate townships.
You've used up your 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just give him just a little bit of feedback on, because Supervisor George was not here at the time. Last year in April, when we had our very first budget workshop, we talked at that point about trying to identify an auditor, because there were some questions on, when was the last time we had sent the audit out to bid, and that went on for a month or two. And then the former supervisor decided that he wanted to form a committee just to put together the RFP, just to get the audit out there. Well, that sat around for 2 or 3 months and didn't happen. And then all of a sudden on the agenda was, okay, let's send out the RFP. So I understand what you're saying. We are aware of the controller's requirements. And what I'm trying to explain to you is that some of the board members, we were trying to push that forward to get an RFP out there on the table for the, so that we could move forward with our audit in a timely manner. So Supervisor George wasn't here at the time, and he was not in those budget workshops. So that one, of course, he wasn't here, but I wanted to make sure you had that story. You can actually go back and look at our old minutes and see where there was a constant delay in just getting an RFP out there. If we can't get an RFP out there, we couldn't get the audit done.
And if you remember the letter I sent to all the board members, one of the things I said as far as a new supervisor, it should be one of the current board members, trustees, because someone coming in from the outside would not be able to know what has been going on. So that just confirms what my comments were to you, that it should have been somebody who was a trustee and not someone who has no idea has been going on for the last year.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I answered.
Anybody else?
Well, everything I was going to talk about has already been discussed, but I'm going to point out a few things anyway. The House bill to fix the...
Would you please say your name? For
John Kraft. The House bill to fix the problem with supervisor vacancies has passed out of committee this past week. Who knows what the House is going to do with it. I was going to ask about the audit of the supervisor, but I don't need to now. The FOIA for the documents on the QuickBooks issue.
Right.
Just so you know, nothing in section 7 is mandatory that you withhold. You can release it all. You don't have to check with the police department. You just put it on your website. Say, here's everything we gave to the police department. There's no law against that.
No, there's no law against that, but I'm saying the police tell me that we're going to hinder the investigation. So we don't want to
tell
do
them
that.
to hurry up their investigation.
Right. Okay.
Dragging it out for another 6 months don't work.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody
Well,
else?
maybe you should tell them we're going to release it in 3 months so your investigation can be done by then. Another issue is the former supervisor's health insurance was already discussed. The resolution setting his compensation did not mention health insurance.
Right.
Did not mention participating in the township's health insurance, which is a benefit that should have been listed if he's getting it. And in January 2018, the township board passed this thing saying, well, all the elected officials can participate if they pay for it. Well, just because the township board passes something doesn't make it proper and legal. It has to be passed based on what they're permitted to do according to the statute.
We went on the advice of our attorney on that, and he approved it. I've gone over this before with you on that one.
And then the next month, the former supervisor's drawing health insurance. He's paying for it through deductions from his paycheck, and then none of those, I think you mentioned it, it was all pre-tax money. And the way I understand it, is if you're paying for it, it can't be pre-tax.
Right.
So all the payroll, social security, all that, and income tax should have been taken out before, and before it was paid, if it was permitted to be paid, and it wasn't permitted to be paid. So I'm asking that you fix that and make sure, I would go back and nullify that resolution you passed back January 2018 to make sure nobody gets confused on the issue.
Right, sure, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, sir. Name's Kirk Allen. During the auditor's presentation, I was watching on the live stream, and they referenced some advanced pays that had not been paid back, or there were still some outstanding advanced pays, if I recall correctly. And I've asked for all pays to your past supervisor, and I was provided spreadsheets that are really troubling. The reason they're troubling is because I got a copy of a check where he paid himself $13,805 that was never before this board. It doesn't appear anywhere in the ledger. Nowhere. Does the board have any idea of the total that he has paid back on loans that he has taken? Anybody aware of that? Any guess?
I tried to figure it out in the general ledger, and I could not see where they were all paid back.
Over $40,000 that he took out in loans. Advanced pays. Yet when you look at the ledger, these dollar figures that are being deducted, the actual payments to him don't show up anywhere. Now I've asked again for a copy of all advanced pays. Now if you want a criminal investigation, there's one to go after. This board had no knowledge of what was going on with that. This is a check that he cut to himself for $13,000 that the board never knew about.
There's two more of those too.
This is April of 17, shows nowhere in the ledger. And part of the purpose of what Mr. Burgess mentioned, an audit, is for this very reason. You have a new supervisor, and within 6 months of that vacancy, there's supposed to be an audit, and this is why. And I would suggest this needs to go back a little bit further, because this is an ongoing, continuing action, so it isn't past the statute of limitations, and there's some specific clauses on municipal theft. This goes clear back to 2013 that I've got records for, $8,500 in advances that he's paid back. Who knows how much he took? $3,514 he paid back, $11,015 he paid back, $4,000 he paid back in 16, and $13,800 in 17. The health insurance, I think that's pretty much a dead horse, but if you look at publication 15-B, publication 15E, circular E, and the federal state reference guidelines from the IRS, we can figure it out. It's taxable income. He can't do what he did, and that needs to be addressed. The other thing that I hope is being addressed, and I know you have a resolution, you've adopted new counsel for the board. Is there going to be a resolution to rescind the old counsel? Because the old counsel is handling your tax objection case. Is that, all that information, is there coordination? Do you guys even know what's going on with that case?
There's going to be coordination with the new attorney and the old attorney.
Okay. So I think that pretty much sums it up, and I do have some outstanding FOIAs I'm still waiting on. But I think you've got a tiger you better grab by the tail.
Okay.
Just to kind of, we're walking in new, but we talked, Mr. Spina, the former lawyer, is communicated to the supervisor and through a letter. He will turn everything over to us immediately tomorrow, and we'll get busy on what we hear tonight. There have been a number of other cases in the state of Illinois where elected officials have taken advances, and there's been severe consequences.
Amen. Thank you. And
Well, I'm not saying that this is the case, I haven't seen anything, but we will get at it tomorrow.
Now, the other last thing on your audits, there's a reference from your current auditing firm, and I can't believe your current audit firm hasn't caught all this stuff and really hammered this. But it makes a reference that they reviewed the 3 nonprofits. You guys don't own nonprofits. Why are your auditors reviewing nonprofit 501c3 IRS documents? That is not your place to be doing that. If they charged you for it, that's a false claim. That should have never been part of what was tasked for them to do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none? Trustees' comments? Trustee Benford?
Thank you, Kurt. I actually had written down a tax objection update, so I was going to talk to or introduce myself to the new attorneys and talk to them about that tonight. Everything I had to say earlier, I mentioned. I'm still going to go on record stating that I do personally have an issue, one, with the amount of money that's been paid to Klein Hall and Associates, and the fact that there are several issues that by now they should have been able to resolve. Even if, W-2 issues and other things, I know that they are trying to clean up some things, but W-2s, there's timely reporting there. We've paid them $3,000 to file corrected 941s, and now they're gonna have to file corrected 941s again. So we paid $4,000 for them to transition our payroll services to ADP. So $7,000, and I counted up, I think it was $30,000 in the last month or two. We were told when they were hired that their rate was going to be less than what we pay an accountant. If we paid them $30,000 in 2 months and they can't find simple things, I think we need to go back to the drawing board on that one and think about getting another RFP out for that. Issued the correct way so that we have some competitive bidding. So that's all I have.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes, I seconded the agenda items for tonight, thinking I was gonna get an update on trustee Benford's side of the QuickBooks when I got referred to the police report.
Yeah.
I had expected, because she had told me she was gonna give her side of the story, and instead deferred it back to the police investigation, which is the only reason I seconded it. And that's it. That's the only reason I seconded that, and I see I came up again with no answers, as I've had for a whole year.
And my understanding was that we were going to get an update from the police.
Time's up.
It's open discussion, could you tell us?
It's
what your
trustees'
questions
report,
are?
it's trustees' report. My questions were her involvement in it, and she said she would give her side of the story tonight, and yet I got no side of the story on it tonight.
I thought we were getting a police update, but I can, if you want me to circle back, I don't have a problem with discussing it. It's up to
Circle back.
Burgess, you want to circle back?
Yeah, let's circle back, let's bring it all out.
I don't have.
Because you said you carry it with you all the time, and yet you referred to the police report.
Well, I thought tonight we were.
No, when we spoke, you said you carry everything, your side of the story with you everywhere you go.
Okay,
and then you would bring it all to the table
tonight, so I didn't bring it with me. But anyway, I can tell you from my memory.
No,
okay?
you said you had documentation. I don't want to hear from your memory. You said you had documentation. I will show the text where you said you had
I will
documentation.
email you all the emails tonight when I finish, but if I'm.
I wanted it here so everybody could see it.
Put it on the next agenda.
No, let me at least answer his question, and if you want to put it on the next agenda, you can. But in November of 2017, I was contacted by Linda Youngs to help identify a QuickBooks software. I believe it ended up, BDK ended up explaining to us that they preferred that we use QuickBooks. She contacted me when I was at TOI in a training class with Amy, asking if I could help her figure out which version of QuickBooks we needed. I believe via text message and phone call, she and I communicated. We figured out that it would be QuickBooks Pro would be the one that would be purchased. She gave me her credit card information in order to purchase the software. The software was purchased. I told her that I would help her get the software installed. Linda, whomever, decided that they wanted to go all the way back to April 1st of that year and enter all of that data. It was at November or December, and of course we're going back to the beginning of the year. There were several phone calls exchanged, and I do have my phone messages, I have my text messages, and I'll email everything I'm saying tonight. I will email that to Trustee Burgess so that he has it all in writing. So if he wants to come back next time and ask a question, I have no problems with answering those questions. So I also emailed to Linda over the weekend, an email where a text message where, not an email, I text her back a text message where when we talked about who would actually help do the data entry, that is not something I could do. It was the middle of tax season, I had no plans on doing that. The only thing I said I would help her with was to get the software installed. I actually even recommended that Terry and Amy go away for QuickBooks training, but we decided that I may show them how to at least do the payroll part in-house. They ended up not going away for training. We ended up never getting all of the data entered. The staff made the copies.
Where was that, this was all done at your firm?
Hold on, let me finish, I'm getting there. The staff made the copies, and then those copies were brought over to my office. My 2 former stepdaughters helped with that, and that was not my decision. I never hired anybody, I never paid anybody. They worked from November until April. It never became an issue until the night that Supervisor Mayor fired the attorney. He said he had no idea what was going on. Nobody was implementing an accounting system for 5 months without the supervisor knowing. I even reminded Linda that there was a meeting that we went to, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but everybody want to know, I'm going to tell you what happened. We were at an event, she wanted me to explain to the former supervisor how I was having difficulties getting the books and records from the accountant in order to get the payroll information entered. Christine, Bill, Linda, and I were standing at an event having a conversation about it. So he knew full well of exactly what was going on. He knew full well, and I know I didn't call Linda and offer to help with QuickBooks. She contacted me on more than one occasion. I told her the first time, I have nobody that can do data entry because the only 2 people that have ever helped in my firm were those 2 young ladies. At times they would contract because they were at a reasonable rate. She explained to me the budget was $3,000. I said it's going to be difficult to enter 6 months worth of data for $3,000. If you think about the fact that Klein Hall charges us $6,500 to do 1 month, you could imagine 6 or 7 months of data that was not going to be an appropriate budget. Once again, I never called the township to help. They asked me to do it. If you look at invoices prior to me joining the township, the former supervisor has paid my firm to help provide QuickBooks training back in 2008 or 2009. So this is not the first time that I've been asked. Linda also gave an example of when she has accounting questions, she may call me, just like when she has a question about a truck, she's going to call Trustee Burgess. I want to get to the bottom of it because I want to know who filed the false police report. If somebody filed a false police report for me, then I'm definitely going to make sure my attorneys take the necessary legal actions. This went on for 5 months. Amy, Linda, Terry, phone calls, conference calls. There was never an issue until I questioned somebody about a check in March. And when that happened, that's when all of the issues started. Now, my understanding tonight is that he said he wanted an update, I want an update. I sent you an email because I thought that maybe we were going to get an update from the police department. But again, I have it up here, I have it in paper, and I will make sure I get that to Trustee Burgess tonight. And everything that I just told you, you're going to see in that paperwork. Okay. I don't want it to go on for another month.
I know this.
So I will make sure you get that.
I get it that, okay, let's throw it out there. Maybe the former supervisor knew about it, maybe staff knew about it. But you knew the board did not know anything about it because the board had never voted on it.
We did vote on it.
But you know we did not vote on the approval of QuickBooks.
Linda, is it not in our management comment letter from that audit?
Did we
Our
vote
response.
on installation of QuickBooks?
Yes, we did.
We did not approve to contract it out. We did not approve to contract it out to a private vendor to help with the installation of QuickBooks. Did we not? We did not approve it to be installed by you. We did not approve it.
What I'm explaining to you
The
is
former
we
supervisor may have
installed-
brought it up after the fact, but we never, as a board, approved it. It was done all behind the scenes, and it was gonna be dumped on us at a later date.
And my understanding was that Linda had
Trustee
been communicating with the
you're
former
a member of the
supervisor
board,
on it.
you knew it was not approved by the board.
We did approve the installation of
No, we
QuickBooks, is
didn't.
what I'm
We
explaining to
did
you.
not vote on a
It's in
vendor.
our management
We never
comment letter.
voted, did we vote on a vendor?
We voted on it.
Did we vote on a vendor?
Linda had already explained that I
Did-
was going to help her.
Did
with
we
that.
vote on a vendor?
We did not vote on a
Okay,
vendor.
then that's all I got.
The clerk should be able to research that and check the minutes, okay? And we'll do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You
Dennis?
got any other questions for me on that tonight? Okay.
Dennis? No comment, okay.
Oh, come on.
No. Who wants to go home?
Okay. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay. Burgess and Benford?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
George.
Yes. Motion adjourned.
Welcome.
Just was signed a sheet. Like this, I saw nobody sign it.
Oh, no, we signed it. I thought there was something else you wanted us to look at.
I was going to sign it.